you need to give them a call, give them a call at 256-593-7221. And our guest today, we're proud to have Snead State President Dr. Joe Whitmore with us, here to talk about stuff going on with Snead. And Dr. Joe, good to have you.
Well, I appreciate it, Rick. Good to be here with you.
Good to see you. I know you were here back several months ago, right after you became the interim, but since then you've been given the permanent president's job. So how's it going since you basically went from interim to permanent?
Well, it's been a whirlwind. We've got a lot of things going on right now. We've got a lot of building projects going on campus. We've got COVID things that we're dealing with, and we're trying to get through this term and plan for hopefully what's going to be a much more what we would think of as normal fall term coming up. I don't know that we'll ever be back completely to what we used to think of as normal. We'll have a new kind of normal, but the main thing we want to do is get our students back on campus. It just hasn't felt right. It's been almost a year since we've had a full complement of students on campus, and we really want to get back to having that student engagement and that personal interaction, which I think is very important in education.
Yeah, I mean, it is basically, we're pretty much right at a year since the COVID stuff happened and school let out. You mentioned some building projects. I think one of the main one you've got going on now is the McCain building, what's the old library, but tell us how it's going. I know the brick pretty much looks good.
The brick is almost done. I'd say we're around 90% done with the brick now. Internally, they're doing as much of the sheetrock and drywall as possible. We've had a delay on getting our windows delivered, so obviously we can't put up, because of moisture issues, we don't want to put up the sheetrock that's around some of those openings. That's a supply chain issue that goes back to COVID again. It's just getting those delivered. We've been told that they're in production. It's not going to delay our completion date, but it's kind of slowing things down. The contractor's having to rearrange the order. They're doing some things, but we expect those in the next couple of weeks. Still planning on being able to finish it up April, May time frame and move in during the summer. So very excited about that. It's going to become a center where a student can come in and take care of all their business, whether that be financial aid, recruiting, admissions, business office. We'll have everything in one building, so we're not sending them all over campus, and they can come in and have all their intake functions done and get all the information they need to get enrolled. So we're really excited about getting that building open. For those of y'all that remember the way the building used to look, it had the little small, I call them gun turret windows.
Yeah.
It looked like a military installation, and we've opened it up and tried to design the building exteriorly to look more like the rest of campus. So I think once it's done, it's going to blend in more with our campus setting and really be a much more functional and usable building.
And I believe it's going to have a student center.
That's correct.
Kind of a place for students to gather.
A lot of older Snead students will remember the sub where the students used to gather, the old gymnasium. And because of some structural issues that it just wasn't financially prudent to take care of those, we had to tear that down a couple of years ago. It's left the students without a place to congregate and to gather between classes, to have meetings of campus clubs, those kind of things. And so one of the things we wanted to be sure we did was identify space in this new in this renovated building that the students would have to go and be able to take a break between classes or to meet or to have a time to study. So we've got a rather large area on the first floor of the building that will be used for that. In addition, we're also going to have some community space. It'll be it's a safe zone for weather-related incidents, but we can use it for gatherings, and it's going to have state-of-the-art TVs and AV equipment for meetings. We can seat as many as 250 people conference style. We can have tables to serve meals in there for up to about 150 or so. So that'll be a space that will get a lot of use, I'm sure. So a lot of new things in the building, and we're excited about getting that open.
One project I know that you got finished is the gym floor. I've done a couple of games in there, and the gym floor looks really great.
We're very proud of that. That was something that we really it kind of snuck up on us. We didn't want to have to make that investment at the time, but it became a safety issue. The old floor had been sanded and refinished so many times that there were some areas that were when you stepped on them it would crack a little bit, and it just became really much of a safety issue. So we had some options of trying to recover it, trying to put some just a new floor directly on top of that, and just made the decision that it was best just to dig out everything and start from scratch. We wanted to have a floor that had some of the newer subfloor features that are easier on the knees and on the ankles, that make the floor give just a little bit. So we went ahead and dug out the old floor, went down to the gravel, put the new floor in so that it would be level with the concrete around it. And that took a little bit more time, but I think it was the right move to make. I think we've got a floor now that's going to last till long after you and I are gone.
Yeah.
And they'll still be able to play on it. The graphics look great. We were going to have to repaint the floor anyway because the 3-point lines moved. So this gave us an opportunity to put in a new one, get the lines where they go, and I think it turned out really well. The colors look good, and the players seem to have really enjoyed it. All three of our teams won their first matches on the volleyball and men's and women's basketball all won their first contest on the new floors. I thought that was pretty cool.
That's good. Any other future building projects that you can talk about now that you know of?
Well, we don't have anything in the works yet. We've got some ideas of some things that we want to do. We're waiting for, as you know, last year in the legislative session, the state passed a $1.2 billion bond issue for education across the state. That will be distributed to each of the community college systems based on some reporting and some requests that we've made to the Chancellor's office. We don't know how much money that's going to be yet, but it's designated strictly for capital projects. One of the things that we know that we've got to do better on as a college is our career tech offerings. The business and industry here in Marshall County are really demanding a lot of workforce development needs, training needs, some of the things that we really need to step up and help our local economy and our local businesses get the workforce trained to do those things. So we're really trying to identify the programs that are in biggest need. We know welding is one of them. We know industrial maintenance and some of the robotics and electronics, those are in really high demand. So one of the things we're going to be looking really hard at doing is expanding that area and try to be able to work with the folks of Marshall County and get them trained properly so that they can get good, high demand, high wage jobs.
Next thing I want to talk about is, I know something near and dear to your heart now is called the Aspire initiative.
Right.
Tell us about that and what it is.
Well, Aspire is really related to what I was just talking about. It's an initiative that the Chancellor brought out to all the community colleges, and it is a way for each school to do a self-assessment, to look at what are we doing well, what are some things that we're not doing well, where can we improve, and what are the opportunities we've got in our service area. And what made this really key for all of the schools, but especially for Snead, is that it was prepared not just by Snead employees. Sometimes if you're at a place long enough, you start being blind to some of the things that are going on around you. So we involve people from the community. We got business and industry leaders, we've got government officials, chambers of commerce. We reached out to as many people as we could, and we had over 50 residents of Marshall County in the different various business and industry come together to help us prepare this. And they said some things to us that were extremely helpful. And again, you know, sometimes you get blinders on, but they were telling us, you know, we really believe Snead can advance in this area or that area. So we pulled all these ideas together from the business and industry folks and the community people and put together the Aspire plan. And I didn't bring that acronym stands for something, and I always forget it. So
that's all right.
Should have written it down. But it's about community engagement and improving who we are. So that report is been sent to the system office, to the Chancellor, as with all the other 23 schools in the system. And they're going to be evaluating those, and they're going to use that as one of the methods of distributing the bond issue money that we were talking about.
Okay.
So hopefully, I feel really good about the plan we put together. Again, I can't thank our community leaders enough that participated and helped us to get to the point that we were in. But that's something that was very useful to us. Anytime you can do a self-assessment and honestly look at what you're doing and trying to figure out where can we improve, and not get your feelings hurt about it. Not, you know, just be open and say, these are the areas we really need to do better in. And I think we've got a good list of those. I think we've got some really honest feedback, and we've got a lot of things that we're going to be able to apply to what we're doing and be better and become the college that the community expects us to be.
That's good. All right, let's take a break right quick and hear this from Fast Fixin' Foods. Back here on the Fast Fixin' Foods Morning Edition with Snead State President Dr. Joe Whitmore. And Doctor, I believe you have over during the break right there, you can let us know what Aspire stands for.
We've got an acronym revealed for us now. It's Aspire, ASPIRE. It's Achieving System-Wide Potential through Increased Resources.
Okay.
So it's the looking at the resources that are going to be made available through our legislature and the fact that we've got some additional resources coming our way. How can we realize our potential based on what the community believes we ought to be? So
okay.
It was a really good initiative for us. It was a good exercise for us to go through.
That's good. All right, next thing I want to talk about, you do have some students on campus now. How is that going?
It's going well. The students have to be honest, they were relieved to be back. They were hungry to come back on campus, and it's been good to have them back in smaller classroom sizes. What we've done is it's sort of a hybrid method that in order to social distance, we can't get a full class into a classroom. So we'll bring half the class in on one day while the other half is communicating online, and then we'll flip it around for the next class period. The folks that were online come in class.
Yeah.
So we've gone back and forth, and that's been successful. We've had students on campus in some of our labs doing our hands-on work. We still have the mask order in place, and we still do temperature checks at the door and make sure that we're being as safe as possible. But we've had no outbreaks on campus of the virus. We've had a few of our faculty and staff from time to time have had to quarantine because they were exposed, or maybe they've had it. But right now, I don't think we've got any of our employees that are out sick with it. We've got a couple that are quarantined, but we've been fortunate. And we've had a couple of athletes that have had to quarantine as well. But overall, it's been very well. Haven't had any issues, and hopefully now with the numbers declining, that's going to continue to be the case.
I know we talked about it before we came on. The governor's got a press conference today to announce what she's going to do because the current order is supposed to expire tomorrow, so we don't know what she's going to say. I saw a couple of days ago where the University of Alabama and their system has announced that starting in the fall, they're going to be back at full capacity, no restrictions. I mean, I know that's where you want to get. Mm-hmm. Is that a possibility in the fall if everything continues the way it is?
I absolutely think it's a possibility. It's not something that any decisions have been made on yet, but I know that's the direction that we want to go. Jacksonville State made a similar announcement a couple of weeks ago that they're going to be back at full capacity as well. Still going to be requiring masks and those type of things, but I certainly think it's feasible with the vaccinations now becoming a little bit more available and a little more widespread. That certainly by the end of the summer, going into the fall, we should be in a position that we can do that. We're going to make every effort we can to make that happen, but safety and the health of our faculty, staff, and students is still going to be our priority. We're going to do what's best for them at the time.
Right. Now, depending on what the governor, whether she lifts the mask order tomorrow or today or a couple of months down the road, do you think that's always going to be, if we get to the fall and you are able to do that, you think at that time you'll still require masks, or maybe just leave it up to the students?
Well, I think that'll be a function of what happens to the virus between now and then. Most of those decisions are not going to be made at the college level. It'll be made system-wide so that all the schools are doing the same thing. So we'll take our lead from the Chancellor's office, and the Chancellor's got several people in his office dedicated just to the specific health and virus aspects of what we're doing. So we'll take our lead from them and what they're advising us to do. I think it'll probably be a long time before we see masks completely disappear. Mm-hmm. Even if the mandate is lifted, there's still going to be people that are going to want to wear their mask just for their own self-being and self-protection, and that'll be a part of what we do. But it just depends. Last year when all this started, everyone thought that the warm weather would help eradicate it, and to some extent it did. So hopefully, as we get into that time of year now, that we're starting to get it under control, that'll help it even more and allow us to be back there. But
the shots and everything.
Exactly. But that's certainly our goal. That's where we want to be this fall.
We mentioned the gym floor, and you mentioned volleyball, basketball winning their first games on the gym floor. Let's talk a little bit about athletics. Right now, you've got every team that y'all participate in is playing. Basketball and volleyball is having to play because of COVID, backing up or moving their season. Of course, baseball, softball, golf, and tennis are unsports running. So, athletic-wise, you're full bore.
It's really a unique situation to have everything going on at once. All 8 of our sports are happening at the same time. It makes travel a little bit difficult because we've only got a certain, a finite number of vehicles to get students back and forth. So we're having to be careful how we schedule those. But all of our student athletes are going right now, and it's really kind of fun to be able to see how much there's something going on campus every day. It seems like. We just 2 weeks ago were able to have fans for the first time. The first month of the season through January and into about the second week of February, we could compete and we could have our contests, but we could have no fans at all. That was really tough on a lot of our parents that obviously want to come see their kids compete, and our student athletes love to be in front of the home crowd and love to be in front of fans. So it was very different to have a game going on in a quiet gym. That's not something you're accustomed to. February the 13th or 14th, I believe, the Community College Conference, the Alabama Community College Conference, allowed us to go to 25% capacity. And so that's where we've been for the last couple of weeks. That's where we stand right now. That will probably jump a little bit before the end of the season. We may be up to half capacity by the end of the season to allow some more fans to come in and see. But that's where we are right now. But you're right, it is interesting, especially volleyball. You're not used to seeing volleyball going on in the spring.
It's done usually by the November. So, all right. A couple other things I want to talk about right quick. Spring graduation. I know last year, COVID messed up graduation. So what have you kind of got in the works now? I know spring graduation will be coming up toward the end of April. So what are the plans for it right now?
May 6th is the date of our graduation. And I'm glad you asked that, because that is my favorite event of the year. Obviously, that's why we're in this business. We want to, there's nothing more gratifying than to see the students that come in and maybe when they first got there, they're a little unsure of themselves and develop that confidence and be able to achieve something. And you see the parents and the families that are so proud of them. And that's by far my favorite day of the year. So I've told our cabinet, I've told our student services folks, I said, whatever we have to do, let's try to figure out a way to have an in-person graduation. We don't have those details in place yet. We've got some options that we're looking at. Again, the priority is safety. We want to make sure that our students, faculty, and staff are all safe, that we're not creating an environment where we could have any kind of a breakout or something that would exacerbate the virus as we know it. So that's going to be our number one factor in determining how we're going to have graduation. So we don't have the details yet. We're going to do everything we can to be able to allow our students to have that in person, because we know that's what they want. And the students last year that couldn't do that were very disappointed. So it's something that's critical for us to do. So it is scheduled for May 6th on a Thursday, and we'll just hopefully we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I'm sure more details. You'll get more about that later on. All right, one more thing I want to touch on right quick. You used to be an administrator at Jacksonville State University. You used to be a sideline reporter for football at JSU. So we talked about how odd it is playing some of your sports now. JSU started their football season last Sunday, spring football season, because they weren't able to play a conference season last year. They played 4 non-conference games, but they started last Sunday. So they're on the road this week. You plan to go to any? I'm sure you do.
Yeah, actually, I watched the game Sunday afternoon.
I did too. I did too.
I didn't get to see it. We do plan to be at the next couple of games. I may be the only president in the United States that got his start as a sideline guy. I don't know if that's been done before. Those are some great times. Mike Parrish does a great job as the voice of the Gamecocks.
And I believe he's in about his 75th year.
Yeah,
he's 75th year of doing radio.
he's been there a long time. He's become a staple, but he does a great job.
He does.
But it is strange to see it going on in the spring. A lot of football leagues have tried to make a go of it in the spring unsuccessfully, and having college football in the spring is kind of different. When you watch ESPN, they're not getting a lot of coverage. It's
Right.
like there's so many other things going on. That's not a high priority. But there was a great crowd there last week. The weather was
80
spring
degrees
like,
on a Sunday in
weather.
February.
So a lot of people worried about that being a factor having spring football. But looking forward to that. They've got a really solid team coming back. I think there's going to be a lot more parity in that division than there has been in the past. North Dakota State got beat last week for the first time in
Long time,
like 5
yeah.
years. So it's really fun. It's interesting. But
Yeah.
it's going to be tough on those kids going through this spring season and then have to turn right around and get ready for fall.
Start practicing in August.
Right.
I've talked to Mike because I did PA for several basketball games this season, and was down there last week for the regional, and talking to him a couple of weeks ago. I mean, like for instance, this weekend you got the OVC basketball tournament going on in Indiana, and then football's in Nashville on Sunday. Baseball's at home, so really there's no he's not going to get to do that because of basketball. Hopefully basketball will still be there and playing in the championship game Sunday, but he's got baseball and all of that. He does some volleyball, so it's just crazy time, and for a lot of the athletic department officials run ragged. He's one also.
Right.
So I told him, I said, you better just take care of your boys.
Yeah, they're not staffed to have that many sports going on at one
I
time.
know, put in a plug for one of our own here, Patrick Williams, who's our football play-by-play guy here. He's actually doing the baseball games this weekend for ESPN Plus.
Mm-hmm.
Because Mike usually does radio and his audios over ESPN Plus. So, but yeah, looking forward to that. Like I said, I'm hoping to get to at least one of the spring games down there, and hoping to be back in the fall doing what I normally do during football season down there and having just a regular football Saturday. Dr. Joe Whitmore, Snead State President, thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely.
And hope to get you back in soon one time, coming up soon, and hopefully get you back over here one day for toward the end of Call and Tell and sit here with us on Bible Trivia.
I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
We'll definitely be
We'll
back.
get together on that.
Anytime.
All right. Dr. Joe Whitmore with us here on the morning edition of Fast Fix and Foods morning edition here on this Thursday morning.